Good evening, good evening, good evening. It is Wednesday, 6 p.m., and it's time for Wednesdays in the Word. My name is Dwayne Hawkins, and I am pastor and our facilitator for this evening. Today is just a great day to be alive. And I'm excited about spending this time with you all, Antioch and friends. Want to thank you for being with us on this evening. Invite you to come in and join us and invite someone else. There's always room in our digital Bible study for one more person. So invite someone to come and let's study the Word of God on together. Study the Word of God on tonight together. Come on in, tell us what your color is. My color is, I'm pretty green today. I'm pretty green today. Got a little bit of extra rest this morning, and I am grateful about that. And so I'm doing pretty good, feeling pretty green on this evening, and just excited about spending this time with you all. I see you. I see you, Miss Alma, and glad that you are with us. All right. All right. All right. All right. Sister Alma says, hello, Pastor Dwayne, First Lady Sonia. God bless. Blessings be on you as well. Blue, green, focusing on the word. All right. Blue, green. I understand. Focusing on the word. Looks like there is Aunt Johnny. Good evening. Glad that you are with us on this evening. Green and ready to go. Invite someone. This is a great opportunity for us to study together, and technology allows us the opportunity to do that from various locations. So you can invite someone that is not even in Omaha, and they can hop on and join us for Wednesdays in the Word. Wednesdays in the Word. So come on in, tell us what your color is, what's been going on in life, anything that we can celebrate, any accomplishments, um, any challenges, prayer requests, anything of that nature. Share what's going on, and we'll take a moment and share life together. There she is. There is Stacia. Good evening to you, my friend. And you are green. Wonderful. Glad that you are with us on this evening. Here comes Karen. Good evening, Pastor and First Lady, Family Green. Hope everyone is having a fantastic evening. It has been a great day, and glad you are with us, Karen. And it was in the 40s today in Omaha, Karen. How about that? It was in the 40s today. Take that. How about that? Glad that you are with us. Somebody go find the first lady. Where she be? Somebody find her. Wow is right. Wow is right. It was in the 40s, all up in the 40s today. Not just 4D, but it was in the 40s, like 44, somewhere around there. So, anyways, what's going on with y'all? Come on in, invite someone. Anything going on in life you want to share? Any answer prayer, any accomplishments, any challenges, any prayer requests? I think I shared on last Wednesday. I'm pretty sure I think I shared on last Wednesday that I wrote a book. I actually wrote a book and published this book, and I'm excited about that. Um, I will, if you're interested in buying it, I will send you, let me know. I'll send you a link. I'm still working to set up my Amazon account, running into some technical difficulties with my Amazon account. So you can't buy it on Amazon yet. So you can wait to either get it on Amazon or I can send you a link to another platform where you can purchase it. I wrote a book on digital discipleship, the intersection of care, growth, and technology in the local church. I sure did. And I should have I should have sent a picture. I wonder if I can upload a picture so you can see at least the book cover. Let me see if I can do that. I was pretty excited about this, y'all. I never wrote a book before. Mm, I don't know if I can find it that quick. Let me see. No, that's not it. That's not it. I'm in the wrong spot. Let's see. Oh, I did. Guess what? Hold on. I got something to show y'all. Let me go to the image file. And then let me go back. And bada bing. No, I thought I was going to do bada bing, bada boom. But check it out. Josie's with us. Good evening, Josie. Able to chat. Green would like a link. Okay, I will send you a link. And Karen says, Dallas will be shut down. Oh, wait a minute. Let me back up. Getting ready for freezing rain, sleet, snow starting Friday through Monday. Oh, no, that is not good news. Dallas will be shut down. Freezing rain, sleet, and snow Friday through Monday. Y'all, let's pray for Karen and all the rest of the Texans in Dallas who may not be accustomed to that kind of weather in the South, that they will be safe and make good decisions, and that storm would pass quickly. We will definitely be lifting you all up in prayer. So, yeah, here's my book cover: Digital Discipleship, Integrating Care, Growth, and Technology in the Local Church. And yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. So I can send you a link, or you can wait till I get my Amazon account. I'm having some technical difficulties getting that set up, but my book is in the world, and I am pretty excited about that. I'm pretty excited about it. Oh, somebody found the first lady. She is with us at the hotel lobby yet again. There she is. Give us a hotel lobby first lady greeting.
Hey, everybody. Good evening. Good evening. Glad to see you all this evening. I am, I guess I'm kind of bluish green today. I'm feeling okay,
We
just
can't hear you.
tired. You can't hear me?
Oh, I think that was my fault.
Oh,
Okay. Go
oh.
ahead. I'm sorry.
Nothing. I was just saying good evening. Good evening. My voice is going out, but I'm here and I'm feeling pretty good.
Oh, okay. Glad that you are with us on this evening. Karen says, fantastic. Can't wait to get it. Y'all, do me a favor. I want at least 5 book sales. I think there's maybe 5 of y'all on there. So if all five people buy the book, then I at least have five book sales. But I think it's pretty good. I've read it a few times, and I'm excited about sharing what the Lord has given to me um, out in the world, and pretty exciting thing. So that is what I wanted to share. Excuse me, what I wanted to share, and hopefully, I will get my Amazon account set up as soon as possible so that people can purchase it on Amazon. But if you want to get it earlier, let me know, and I will send you a link um, so that you can get it. It'll be e an ebook or paperback or hard copy. I don't know. I think electronic is like $10 and paperback is, I don't know, 16, $17, something like that. Hard copy is like 26, $27, somewhere around there. So not too terribly expensive. And people of the Antioch Baptist Church will undoubtedly recognize a lot of the things that I talk about in the book because it comes from some of our experiences at the church in terms of care and growth in technology. And anyways, I'm excited about that and wanted to share that with you all. Josie is happy that the first lady is back. Yay! She is back. She was gone, and now she has returned, and we're grateful. Anything else going on before we get started? Any other life events to share? I'll be happy to allow you opportunity to do that so that we can share life with one another. If not, are you ready? Let's hit it. Everything that you need, it is in the Word. And we have started a new journey this year. We've been doing a lot of ministry related studies, and I just really felt the last few months or so that it was time to go back to doing some basic Bible work to increase our knowledge and understanding of the Bible. And so we started in January our new study called God's Story, an overview of the Bible. And our goal, with the Lord's help, is to do an overview of every book in the Bible. And so this is a lofty goal. This is a big thing, y'all, that we would do an overview of every book in the Bible. And this will be our second time going through all 66 books in Bible study. We did it a few years back ago, and now it's time for us to do it again. And the big addition this time is just my understanding approach application to Bible study or and to technology. I'm sorry, to be able to integrate those tools into our study. And so now, for each book, you will receive an overview to help build your own reference library of every book in the Bible. So, my question is, did you get your email on yesterday with your overview of the book of Exodus? Awesome. First Lady gave a thumbs up. Let me know, the rest of you all, if you received your email on yesterday with an overview, with your PDF document of the book of Exodus. And First Lady, if you would be so kind to print off a copy of the Genesis document and the Exodus document, and make sure that Aunt Johnny gets a hard copy. I certainly would appreciate that. And if I'm going to try to make myself a note and just do a few hard copies at the church for those who are not technologically inclined, that we would have some copies uh, at the church. All right. Looks like people got their email. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Johnny, waiting on your copy. Yo Nisi Poo is going to print you off a copy of Genesis and Exodus so that you'll be caught up to date. And great, 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 great. I'm glad the email went through, and you can create a file. If you are a technology person, you can either print them off and start making a notebook, or you can create a folder in your electronic device and put them in the folder, all that kind of stuff. You can print it off and write on it if you want to do it that way. But give me some feedback on the overview itself, and let me know if it kind of makes sense. So tonight we are starting the book of Exodus, and uh, it is just so unfortunate that Dee Dee is not with us. She's got some other things going on. She'll be away from us for a little while and watching on the replay. But Dee Dee, if you're watching on the replay, the book of Exodus, First Lady said, "Don't do it." The book of Exodus is I don't know if it's better than the book of Genesis. I don't know if it's my new favorite book, but it is my second favorite book of the Bible because it's the second one that we're studying. How about that? Um, so let's kind of take a look. Um, you can print your stuff off and write on it, or just kind of follow along. Uh, One sentence description: Exodus reveals God as a mighty deliverer and covenant Lord who rescues his people and establishes his presence among them. I wanted to try to keep the descriptions and really everything in the overview document as simple as possible. This is not meant to be a big old commentary. This is meant to be an overview, and I want to try to make sure I'm being as clear and concise as I possibly can. So just give me some feedback to let me know if it's uh not too long, and if what I'm writing and editing is understandable, so that I can kind of keep that standard going forward. It is in the book of law, the first 5 books of the Bible: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy are the books of law. The author, just like the book of Genesis, is attributed to Moses. And um, again, likely compiled during the time that Israel is in the wilderness, during that 40-year period of time is seems to be a likely period when Moses was leading the nation, that he also began to pen uh, this book, the book of Exodus. And so, who was he writing to? He was writing to the nation of Israel, particularly during this period of time where they are wandering in the wilderness after they have been delivered from Egypt and Pharaoh and crossed the Red Sea, and prior to them entering into the promised land on the other side of the Jordan River. He's writing to them during this period of time. This is a long book. This is I wanted to kind of help us understand: is it a short book? Is it a medium book? Is it a long book? And I want to suggest that Exodus is kind of a long book. So, what is this book about? And the theme and the purpose. So this book really picks up from where the book of Genesis leaves. You know, if you remember, God dealt with the world universally through creation, the fall, the flood, and spread of the nations. And then he began to deal on an individual basis with Abraham, Isaac, um, Jacob, and Joseph. And at the end of Genesis, they are in the land of Goshen, and there is this family of about 70 people. And uh, the brothers are scared, and Joseph is second in power, and uh, you meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. And uh, Joseph is reunited with his dad, and they're in the book or in the land of Goshen. And Exodus kind of picks up from that time period forward. So it shows the deliverance of God. So you kind of get that from the name Exodus, to go out of Genesis, the beginning, Exodus, out. And so God saves his people. The interesting thing about this book is that it's not just saving them from, but he's saving them to something. And that point, I think, is one of the major things that I want us to make sure we understand about this amazing. I think by the time we get done with Exodus, it's probably going to be my favorite book in the Bible, because it's kind of growing on me. So they're saved out of slavery, but into worship and into this covenant obedience with God. And the reason that that's so significant is because in the book of Genesis, God makes a covenant with Abraham. He gives him a promise in chapter 12 of land, seed, and blessings. And we see how Abraham and how Isaac and Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel, how they live in light of this promise, and how the journey of faith is a winding journey and not a straight arrow upward. And it was all around the promise that God gave to Abraham, and then the promise was turned into a covenant. So God made a covenant with a man. But now, as we go into the book of Exodus, we discover that this man turns into a family, and now this family is turning into a nation. And now God makes a covenant, not just with one person, but he makes a covenant with the nation. And that relationship that was between how Abraham responded to the promise and to the covenant, now we get to see how the nation of Israel responds and how they live in light of this covenant relationship with God. And it gives us a glimpse into how we live our lives in light of our covenant relationship with God. Uh, so we're reflecting on our lives of faithful obedience when we read through the book of Exodus to see how the nation responds. Do they respond in faithful obedience or do they respond in disobedience? And how God deals with the nation similarly as he deals with Abraham's. We find out that the nation, the people of God in the Old Testament don't just trend upward and they don't always do right because it's right. They don't always obey. They don't always trust God as a nation, just like it was the case in the book of Genesis with individuals. So we see that same thing being applied to the group of people. And so we see that the book moves, um, how God redeems them, how he introduces the law, and this is our first introduction to the law in the Bible is in the book of Exodus, and to worship and how those things are connected, establishing Israel's identity as God's covenant people. Uh, when they come out of bondage, their identity is changed by God. And so there's a whole lot going on in the book of Exodus that helps us to begin to understand how that relates to us as the people of God and how God rescues us and delivers us out of sin and into a covenant relationship with him, and how we live in light of uh, that covenant relationship, and how God changes our identity and how we become his people. And we see all of that beginning in the book of Exodus. So, just any thoughts, questions on just those essentials before we take it a step further in this amazing book of Exodus, looking at these big themes and purposes. Type them in the chat. If you're in the studio, you can unmute. But let me know if that makes sense. Give me a heart or something so that I know we're on the same page and tracking, and then we will. Okay, great, 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 great. Thank you all. So let's look at how the book is broken down, and we'll look at a brief outline to see how those themes and purposes play themselves out. So, the beginning of the book establishes the need for deliverance. Like, how did they get from this family that was safe in Goshen to a nation in slavery? That is a big deal. Joseph was second in charge, and they were safe, and they were a family, and they had a spot all their own. And now we find just in the opening chapter of the book of Exodus, we find that circumstances have changed. They're a nation, and now they are in bondage when they were free, and now they're a nation when they were a family. And how all of that happens is unfolded in the beginning of Exodus. And then we get introduced to this man, um, Moses, who is going to be the one that God uses to deliver them out of bondage. So that's how the book opens up in the first couple of chapters. And then in the next couple of chapters, uh, we find Moses is no longer a baby; he's a man, and God appears to him, and we get this sense of calling, how God invites man to be a part of redemption. It happens in Moses. Well, actually, it probably happens in Noah in the book of Genesis. We didn't spend a whole lot of time talking about the flood, but we also see it here, how God uses imperfect people to accomplish his redemptive purpose. And this is one of several memorable moments in the book of Exodus. Probably the first was the saving of Moses, and then the calling of Moses, and God reveals his name to Moses. Major moment in the book of Exodus. So he calls him, he reveals himself to him, and he commissions Moses to participate in God's plan to save his people. So that's the next major movement in the book of Exodus 3 and 4. And the next is how Moses is used by God to deliver this nation out of bondage, chapters 5 through 15. And we see these plagues, these 10 plagues, and they demonstrate God's power. Each plague was an attack on an Egyptian god that clearly reveals that God is all powerful and that those Egyptian gods, who are really not gods, are not more powerful than God. And so he hardens Pharaoh's heart. They pass through the Red Sea. Pharaoh's army is destroyed, and the people are rescued from captivity in chapters 5 through 15. There's some major stuff going on in that section of the book of Exodus, from this plague to that plague to that plague, and how the plagues started out all over the land, and then the plagues only happened on Pharaoh and his people and not on God and his people, and just the imagery of these plagues are just amazing. And so that's the next section of the book of Exodus, chapters 5 through 15. And and so now, um they cross the Red Sea. Pharaoh's army is destroyed, and they are entering into this space where they are out of bondage, but they haven't made it to where they're going yet. And they are being tested. Um, are they going to trust God in this newness that they have never experienced before? And we see them acting and thinking the same way that they were when they were in bondage. And they've got to learn now how to trust God in a way that they hadn't before. And so we see this through God providing manna, God providing water, God providing guidance, a pillar of cloud by day, a pillar of fire by night. And they learn to trust. And uh the beginnings of governmental activity, Moses establishes as judges. And this whole deal of surrender versus control is a big theme um in these early chapters uh outside of bondage. And so then they make it to the mountain where Moses told Pharaoh, let my people go so that they could worship God on this mountain. And they make it there. And God visits the people on Mount Sinai, thunder and fire, and Moses goes up to the mountain, and the people have to stay down, and they have to consecrate themselves. And uh God is giving Moses the beginnings of the law. And we see this initially in the 10 commandments. Another there's so many major moments in the book of Exodus. It is just amazing how he writes the 10 commandments on tablets of stone with the finger of God. And Moses comes down the mountain, and he's the intercessor between God and man, and gives him the 10 commandments. And uh this their identity, now they are God's people. And as God's people, this law reflects the holiness of God, and it regulates their behavior in light of that holiness. And they are commanded within this covenant relationship to obey. To obey. And the last segment of the book of Israel, God is preparing to establish a place for his presence where the people would worship him. But before that happens, when they left bondage in Egypt, and Pharaoh said, take your stuff and go, and his son is dead, and they leave, but they leave with their hands full with all of this stuff and this gold and all of these things. And while um, Moses is on the mountain communing with God, and the people are without their leader for a period of time. They fashion this calf, and we see idolatry, and how God responds, and he's ready to kill them because of their disobedience, because of their idolatry, because of their uh, their wickedness. And Moses intercedes on behalf of the people to God, and God changes his mind because of his relationship with Moses. Absolutely blows me away how the relationship between God and Moses saves the people. And um so we get that whole piece um at the beginning of this section, and then he's giving instructions on how to build a house for God. And so we get all of these details. Fashion it this way, use this material, use this color, and they're in the wilderness. So they got this stuff when they left bondage in Egypt. That's where the materials came for them to build this tabernacle as a temporary house where God would dwell as they're on their way to the promised land. And that is the brief outline of the book of Exodus. Oh my goodness. It is an amazing book. Thoughts or questions on the outline? How did my storytelling go? Did I tell a good story of the book of Exodus? The outline? Let me know. Write something in the comments or give me some hearts, or before we move to our three lenses. This is just our introductory understanding of the book and walking through the outline and kind of telling the story of the book through the outline. Oh, good. Thank you all. Thank you all. So we are tracking, and um, before we look at these three lenses, any questions so far about this book? Has anything that I've shared with you so far been new information, or are you just reviewing what you already understood? Okay, we got a response here from Alma. You did great. I will use outlines for my next teaching opportunity. Yeah, I think understanding the outline allows you to kind of narrate the story at a high level without going too far into details into any specific one. So if you read through the book after going through the overview, the dots will be connected. Yeah. Any other thoughts? Is this new information about the book of Exodus, or is this a review of what you already knew about the book of Exodus?
Pastor, it's not new information, but every time you go through it, you just I think you're just in a different place in life, and different things tend to stand out to you um, at the time. But it seems like no matter what, every time I'm looking at this book, the same thought always occurs. God delivers the people after they have prayed and begged and pleaded to get out, and he delivers them. And no sooner do they get delivered than they complaining. We had it
Mm.
better when we was there. And and my emotions are always the same. Initially I get upset, like what's wrong with these people? And then my very next thought is, gosh, that's a lot like us. We beg to be delivered, he delivers us, and then we still complaining, talk about we had it better when we were in the other situation. We just cannot be satisfied.
Wow. Yeah, looking at how they respond to the presence of God, to the provisions of God, to the protection of God, and how we are amazed at their response. It allows us the opportunity to look in the mirror and examine how we live in light of the presence of God, how we live in light of his provisions, in light of his protection. And it shows us humanity. Alma says over and over again, yeah, um, over and over again. And that is one of the amazing things about both Genesis and Exodus is in Genesis we get to see that on an individual basis, but in Exodus we get to see it on a corporate basis. But we see the same thing. How do the people live in light of who they know God to be? And I think that's a great point. Thank you for sharing that. And Alma, in your comments, Johnny, adding to what you didn't know, just kind of reviewing and just kind of bringing these things up again. And so, with that, there are three different lenses. Now that we have the basics of the book of Exodus, I want us to look at it in light of the big story of redemption. I want us to look at it through our connection to spiritual maturity. And then I want to look at it through uh the lens of the doctrinal contributions. Uh Alma says disobeying. Um Josie, I appreciate your outline. God was really trying hard to show people their sins, make them aware of their condition apart from God. Yeah, when we get to the doctrinal section tonight, we'll see our understanding of these doctrinal truths. And out popped a calf. Yeah, when I was preparing, I was just thinking about that. uh Moses is second hand, he was in charge and he was the one. They were like, bring all your stuff and make us this calf, and Moses comes down and his second in charge. I don't know what happened. You was gone and they brought this stuff and out popped out this calf. I ain't had nothing to do with it. And so many classic scenes, and that's one of them. The response when Moses comes down and God tells Moses, you need to get down there. These people are doing wicked stuff. Yeah, great scene. Great scene. So, redemption. How does this book carry out God's story? What role does Exodus play in the big plan of redemption that God is yet working even in our lives today? Exodus is the great deliverance narrative. that establishes God's pattern of redemption through Scripture. God sees the oppression of his people, comes down to rescue them, brings them into covenant relationship with himself, not merely from slavery. It's not just what we're being saved from, but what we're being saved to. Uh, and the tabernacle is the climax, showing that God's purpose in redemption is not just to escape hell. It is to be in relationship and to dwell with God. Exodus points to Jesus as the greater Moses. And we understand that through the book of Hebrews in the New Testament, which tells us that Jesus is greater covenant. He's a greater Moses, and we see all that unfolding in the book of Hebrews. So Exodus points to Jesus as the greater Moses who leads a new Exodus, freeing his people from sin and death. Passover lamb, back in the 10 plagues, as a foreshadowing of Jesus's sacrificial death. And because Jesus is the true tabernacle, the church becomes God's living temple today. The Red Sea crossing anticipates baptism and resurrection, and the Exodus pattern shapes our hope for God's final redemption. And there is so much that is introduced to us in the book of Exodus that shapes um, what we believe about salvation, about a relationship with God, about what it means to be in covenant relationship with God and how we relate to one another. All of these things are heavily advanced in the book of Exodus. So it is a key book to advance God's story. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. That there's so much introduced. I wish we could spend more time. Um, so, in terms of our connection to maturity, what we should know and understand, our hearts, our corporate hands, our individual hands, those are our structures for kind of embracing maturity, what a mature disciple looks like, and how does the book of Exodus help us to connect um, the book of Exodus to what we know about maturity. Um, the head, it establishes what we know about the character of God. Um, he reveals his name, his covenant name, uh, Yahweh. In Genesis, he's the creator, he's Jehovah. But in Exodus, when he reveals his covenant name, he's Yahweh. And the big deal about that, remember, the audience is the nation of Israel in the wilderness. So now they will understand that Jehovah is Yahweh, that the one who created, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, is the same one that they're in relationship with in the wilderness. There she is. Hey, 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 hey. And for them to make that connection, that the God that they are in relationship with in the wilderness is the same God that created, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, was a major point of connection for them. And so we understand God's character Um, he's eternal, he's faithful, he's holy, he's a deliverer, and he's a judge. His commandments flow from his character, and they are meant for our good. Um, Johnny says, "Take me back to where I started with the group." I don't understand that message. Help me understand what you're saying there. And so our heart, um, he fashions us internally who we are through our identity. Believers see themselves as God's redeemed people. The 19th chapter of Exodus, you are a holy people, a royal nation, um, that God has called them out of darkness in not just in bondage in Egypt, but out of sin into light and into relationship with Him. And um, we understand again how quickly we turn uh, from God to idols, and God is calling every generation to ongoing repentance in our hearts, the need to repent and to turn back to Him. God's people experience wilderness testings, God's patience. Learning that testing is God's classroom for faith. We saw that in Genesis individually. Now we see that in Exodus corporately. We see community in Exodus. Our corporate activity is being foundationally introduced to us in the book of Exodus. We are together. We are not individuals. We are individuals, but we're individuals in community. And we don't live out our relationship with God by ourselves. We get that clear as a bell in the book of Exodus. A kingdom of priests reflecting God's justice, mercy, holiness, their individual hands. Exodus models personal discipleship through Moses and Israel's journey. Believers learn obedience despite fear, to trust God in wilderness seasons, to practice disciplines like Sabbath rest and remembrance. All of these individual things we also see in the book of Exodus. Individual believers respond to God's grace with loyalty and obedience, resisting idolatry in their own hands. Moses again comes down. Who is on the Lord's side? Oh, that that he spoke that to the people, but their response was individual. Who is on the Lord's side? So we get those understandings to connection to spiritual maturity. And I'm not going to go over all of these doctrinal contributions, but some of them we've kind of already been introduced to, like our understanding of what the Bible teaches about who God is. We learn a lot in the book of Exodus that helps us understand who God is. He's holy, He's sovereign, He's compassionate, He is a prayer answering God. Um, He's a covenant God, and He is both merciful and righteous. Saves the oppressed, but He judges rebellion. He's not just one or the other. He is both. And we get that clear in the book of Exodus. Man, we understand a lot about man in the book of Exodus. Um, how we're made in his image, called to reflect his character. Um, God chose Israel. Israel didn't choose God. We have a bent toward rebellion, idolatry, and Exodus shows humanity's need for mediators, which kind of begins to set the tone for Jesus. Moses, priest, all of that. And so there's more of those for you to go through, those doctrinal contributions through the book of Exodus. And so next week, we're going to begin to look at some of the memorable passages. Oh, wait a minute. When you allow me to join in or be a part of your study, I'm not quite understanding. So somebody help me understand so that I can respond appropriately to Aunt Johnny. There are several uh, God introducing himself to Moses, this burning bush scene. Um, in chapter 6, chapter 12, um, when they're on the mountain in chapter 19. So we'll begin to take a look at some of we won't be able to look at all of them, but we'll look at two or three of those, kind of review what we went over tonight. And so feel free to begin to look at those. Or if there's other passages in the book of Exodus that you want to take a look at, shoot them to me and I'll study them, and we can look at them together on next week. And then we'll end with some tips for reading the book of Exodus, and we'll close in some reflections on the book of Exodus. I think, Dee Dee, this is my new favorite book of the Bible. The beginning of when she first stated studying with us on Wednesday evening. Take me back to where I started. Like, are you asking for handouts or um you was having Bible study during the pandemic and I led by yep. I'm still lost. I'm sorry. So that's where we are. Check your emails. First lady's gonna make sure Johnny gets some hard copies. I'll print some hard copies. I'll set myself a note to print out some hard copies of Genesis and Exodus. And for next week, just think about some of your favorite passages in the book of Exodus. If they're not the ones in the document, I'd be happy to look at other passages in the book of Exodus, and we'll look at a few of them and kind of go down in detail and see how they help us understand some of the major things we want to talk about. We'll end with some reading tips, and then we will end with some reflections on the book of Exodus. All right, good people. That is it. We'll wrap up Exodus on next week, and may the peace of God be unto you. Let's go change the world.